Pete completes
the act
on her stomach. This is graphic, but this is what it is. This is where we're at. He grabs a towel and he tosses it to her and says, "You can clean that up." And that, I think, was the insult that broke her.
When you go into his room on your own and have sex with a man who is a stranger to you, expect no better.
Exactly.
Expect no better. And that applies to her and all women.
All right. Well, that was Megyn Kelly and her guest talking about the sexual assault allegations that were filed against, or I should say, the sexual assault allegations from a woman that's being referred to as Jane Doe against Pete Hegseth.
Okay, so in this one, I was catching them when their eyes are closed. I don't care. In this one, Anna is going to drag Megyn Kelly for making some actually obvious points here, but she's dragging her because she doesn't appreciate, I guess, her take on what happened with Pete Hegseth. I am the last person to defend Pete Hegseth when it comes to some of his warmongering type of policies that he would like to implement. Also, he is, I don't know, I find him to be very subversive. This is the same guy who says Americanism is Zionism, and I'm sorry, I'm not sorry. I have an absolute problem with that, but that's another video. I need to start going live. I really just need to just stop it and just go live. But anyway, when it comes to things like this, I'm sorry, I'm not the one for all the time a random woman remembers that something happened that she didn't like, and now somebody has to have a label on them. Sorry. This one, we've seen it time and time again in history. And as a matter of fact, you know what? Let's just get into the video.
Who Donald Trump has tapped as his defense secretary. Now, I don't think it's helpful for Megyn Kelly to say things like that, because it seems as though you're blaming women for the behavior of men, as if men have absolutely no control over their own behavior. But I want to move on to talk a little bit about how Pete Hegseth is now referring to the rape allegation as a smear. And before we get to the clip where he says that, let's just quickly review a few of the details. So the incident happened back in October of 2017 at a Republican women's conference in Monterey, California. Now, Jane Doe says that her first memory of being in a hotel room was when she was on the bed or a couch and Hegseth was over her. She said that his dog tags were hovering over her face and that he was bare-chested. She told police he ejaculated onto her stomach before throwing her a towel and asking, "Are you okay?" The woman said she does not remember how she got back to her room. Her husband was worried about her because she hadn't returned to the room until about 4 a.m. And about 4 days later, she went to the hospital, had a rape kit taken, and the prosecutors never filed any charges. We don't understand why. We don't know what their reasoning was behind it. And in the end, there was some sort of financial settlement involved. And I want to be abundantly clear that there has never been any adjudication of the allegations against him, because there was never a trial, prosecutors never pursued it. And so whenever you hear him say, or anyone supporting Hegseth say, that he was cleared of any wrongdoing, that's not truthful. That is dishonest.
But also it is dishonest to act like he did something wrong, because clearly maybe it wasn't prosecuted because maybe she didn't want to have him prosecuted, right? Maybe, because if she was so upset that it wasn't prosecuted, why didn't we hear about this before? Why would she just take the money, right? I'm sorry. That there's two ways to look at this. I'm not saying he's innocent, but to me, I'm sorry. All I'm hearing is females getting into bad situations with people while you're married. And, where were you that you even got into some sort of something that you can't remember how you got in his room? So I'm just hearing women getting in bad situations and then remembering that something bad happened to them. Like, it's too convenient.
That is not the case.
Yeah. So look, I have no idea what happened that night. Right. And I don't know that anyone outside of those two does. And they might even have different recollections of it. But yes, they did not press charges. Now, but when I look at it, as we discussed before, you look at the totality of the circumstances. For example, remember the absurd charges against Aziz Ansari? Now, those were not legal charges, but they were made public in some article against him. And number one, you look at the content of it, you're like, well, that's not a thing. Doesn't seem to have done anything wrong, even based on your allegations. And number two, he has no prior history of doing anything like that, right? Then you look at Hegseth, and oh my God, the history is stacked with being disrespectful to women, being out of control drunk. It's on and on and on, right? Look, you party, I don't give a damn about your parties, right? If you have a significant drinking problem, as tons of people have attested to at work, then it's a problem if you're going to be Secretary of Defense. Like most of the women you work with tell the press he's dangerous, you got a problem, okay? Now, but we've gone over that. To me, the Megyn Kelly thing, and by the way, we're going to get to how he's probably going to be Secretary of Defense. I mean, they're rallying massively to him. But the Megyn Kelly thing actually really bothers me. That kind of logic of, well, you wound up in his room, so I guess, I mean, it seems like, maybe she's not saying it, but it seems like she's saying, then you had it coming. No, you didn't have it coming. No. Like, don't go to guys' rooms if you're not sure. I get that. Be cautious. I get that. But once a guy is in a room alone with a girl, he does not have carte blanche. And that kind of idea, it bothers me.
Yeah, because it's blaming the woman for the behavior of the man, assuming the allegations of him mistreating her or potentially raping her are true, right?
But it's not about carte blanche. Yo, brother, let me tell you, men who are single, I don't know what to say to you guys, man. I feel bad because we are in an era where if you literally are like kissing on a girl and maybe you might have kissed her cheek a little too hard, somebody with borderline personality disorder can say that you harassed her. For the women watching this, a lot of women watching this are probably going to sit here and maybe come for me and say, oh, that's not true, Casey. Why are you making women sound bad? If it's not you, you know someone who would do it. We all know a girl who would do it, and you only need an opportunity for one person to take advantage, okay? A lot of people will. My problem with that is, too, it muddies the waters because there are people who get caught up in situations that they didn't mean to get in, and they actually got, more than taken advantage of. They got, graped, and, because I can't say the word, and that should be talked about, and that should be prosecuted. And it's not just because, oh, you went in the room, right? But if you are talking about that y'all were having intercourse, and when he was done, he did it on your stomach and then tossed you the towel. That's not a criminal act. Because is it the intercourse? So then now the intercourse becomes a criminal act. Like, it's just all too much. It really is. But I'm not with it. I'm not. We are walking a very fine line. And I didn't know how much of a fine line we were walking. See, when I was younger, I used to believe in that stuff, like no means no. But people are saying that a man can be in the middle of, literally on, okay, about to, hey, about to, be like, I've hit that peak. And if a girl says no, at that moment, it now transitioned to a problem. But how? We know what I'm saying.
And so I hate that as well. At the same time, as a woman myself, obviously, how vulnerable you can be. And so you always have to take additional precautions just to protect yourself. But that doesn't mean that the onus should be on the woman when it comes to the bad behavior that's being carried out by the man.
So number one, that's just as a matter of justice. That's obviously true. But secondly, it leads to a disastrous result if you have that mindset set in, right? So we left, so back in the day, we were on Current TV, right? And so when Al Jazeera America bought them, we left. And there was many different reasons we left. But one of them was, we had a coworker, and she was going to go do a meeting with one of their executives, and she was the head of social media, so she was fairly high up at Current TV. And they said, "Oh, you have to bring a male with you to have coffee at Starbucks with this executive." And we were like, "Wait, what? Here in America, she has to bring a male with her? Why?" Because the assumption is, if a man and a woman are alone together, well, obviously the man's going to rape her or something.
That's crazy.
Okay, what? Like, no, I don't want to work with someone like that. And I'm not trying to, look, I'm sure that different Al Jazeera branches are different and their executives are different, et cetera. But that happened with that particular individual, and it was a massive turnoff for me, because we have to be able to be in the same room together without assuming that the man's going to be a monster.
Yeah, and I just think, look, it's kind of unfair to men.
Okay, that is a cultural thing, guys. Like, let's not. Okay, so I'm imagining that the girl might have been of a certain culture where they needed a chaperone or something. Like, that's a cultural thing. So I don't understand. That's different. To me, that's different, because I feel like it wasn't explained to them like that, and I feel like that was more, again, of a cultural thing. There are a lot of cultures that do believe in situations like that, when they take modesty to the utmost level of modesty that they can, and a lot of Muslim cultures and stuff, and I don't think anything's wrong with that. That's a cultural thing, or so I actually don't think anything's wrong with that. If they would say it in those terms, then I understand that. But if it's like, well, that's what we do. It's cultural, it's man or woman, because they understand that men and women are not equal, though, right? Which is why, though, again, it brings me back to men being very careful, because there are women going to take advantage of that. They always say that you are the dominant one. We're not supposed to be equal, and they actually are supposed to be the leader. But it's funny how feminists will use that at the right time, when they feel like it serves a purpose. And like I said, we've seen this time and time again. I mean, this is back to the Bible times. Like, Joseph was put in jail because, I forgot the guy's name who he was living with. But anyway, his wife said that he raped her, And so that's in the Bible. So you just got to be careful. And I don't think Megyn said anything wrong more than she said anything that somebody who's a little older, who grew up in the, probably 80s, 90s, and, we got to start telling young women too, like, why are you getting caught up? Like, how did you get in that room? What kind of party? Where was your husband? Like, why aren't we talking to women and saying, like, yo, don't get caught up with some weirdos that you don't even need to be around anyway, for like corny stuff that happened to you, right? You're worth more than that. Maybe we start with that lesson. I don't hate women. I think women are worth so much more, but they have women fighting these weird battles that don't add up, for this equality, or every man is some sort of predator and all of this stuff. It's a lot. I don't want Pete Hegseth to be Secretary of State, because he will, but it really doesn't matter, because any one of them that comes, they want to go to war, Iran, all of that stuff. So, anyway, I'll see you guys at the next one. Bye.